Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second installment of our series of CRCC Asia webinars focused on our various program locations. We're really going one by one. So again, this is our second installment. For those of you that tuned into our first, focused on Tokyo, conducted by my colleague, I should say, Tyler DeVici. Welcome back. My name is Andy Radlett, and I am another admissions advisor here with CRCC Asia. I'm coming to you live from our US office right here in Philadelphia, Old City area. So hello, everybody out in the world. Today, I'm really going to be focusing on our Shanghai internship program. So covering what everything consists of, really what you can expect from on the ground, and really discussing why Shanghai, really of all places, not just of our program locations, but why go to Shanghai to do an internship and primarily this program. So just give me a few seconds here. We'll be sharing my screen and opening up. Right. Sounds great. So to get started here, again, I'm going to be covering Shanghai and really why it's one of the best places, not only in China, but really in the world to be doing an internship program. So why do an internship program to start things off, and specifically with CRCC Asia? Again, we are essentially a internship provider. We work very closely with several universities throughout the world, of course, here in the US and Canada and North America, but also throughout the UK and Europe and Australia as well. So we recruit really from everywhere, and we specialize in facilitating internships across several different sectors, which we will touch upon throughout this session today. So why do an internship program? Of course, a lot of people are thinking, what's the difference? What is an internship? What do I need to pay for? Well, we'll kind of cover that. And an internship program is really a little bit more than just an internship. A program just consists of a lot more, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, really the benefits of using a provider, just as CRCC Asia in this case. What we provide, and I'll be touching, this is kind of a brief outline of what we're going to be covering today, this evening throughout this presentation. It's really, going out to, if you're going to get an internship, especially abroad, there's still a lot of things that come with it, of course, and you're going to be working there 9 hours a day, but there's so much more than work. You want to have a life out there. You're going to be navigating an unfamiliar culture, something you may not think about, but you're going to need some place to live. You're going to need a visa, of course, making sure it's proper, because there's so many different visas, and sometimes it can get complicated. You're going to want some friends there. You're going to want people to hang out with, go out, explore the city with, outside of work, and kind of rest and relax. There's so much that goes into just everyday life that you really don't think about on this type of program, or just an internship in general. So we're there for you throughout that whole process, from really the second you begin an application to throughout the whole pre-departure process, and scheduling interviews and going through before you get the placement, ultimately when you get the placement, and really preparing for this experience to wheels up when you go there. And then another one of my colleagues will our group of colleagues, I should say, our teams in each city will be there support while you're on the ground throughout the program. And really from the second you begin with us till the second you leave the program, we're there for you. So there's just so many things that we're there, and the benefits to using us rather than, of course, doing it on your own. So really the biggest thing that we notice for college students, really worldwide, is mostly it's 3 or 4 years, sometimes 5, that most people are in college for. And people always say it's like the quickest time of their life. It just goes by, you blink and it goes by. I know it certainly happened for me too. And what you want to do is you want to fit as many opportunities and experiences as you can in just a short time period. Of course, you want to get that internship experience out of the way during the summer, get some professional experience, kind of see what it's like working in a office environment, and kind of developing those skills, really test out if that career path is something you'd really like to pursue. And also, a lot of people want to go out and get that study abroad experience, get to know a different culture, live abroad for an extended period of time. So really what we do is we combine those together, where, of course, in the internship, you're going to be able to get those cultural immersive experiences. And really, in my opinion, through the internship program, rather than study abroad, it's really taking it that much further, primarily with the cultural immersion side of things, where you'll literally be interning with a legitimate company each day. Instead of just going to classes and maybe learning about culture, it's more of a immersive experience in that way. So just to kind of wrap it up, it really is blending the two together. My personal favorite of why going to China, of all places, is really something that you really don't get a feel for other places, and that's developing that global network. My favorite part about China is, I love the food, I love, walking through the streets and experiencing the culture when I'm out there. But my personal favorite is the people that I meet out there, because everybody you meet, whether it's native Chinese who live out there or the expats you meet from America or Canada, Europe, and really Australia, from all over the world, people come to China for really a blend of different experiences. And the people you meet there are really there for a reason, whether it be pursuing an entrepreneurial enterprise, or going there for their company, or a variety of different things. Everyone you meet has just a different background and different experience, and really expanding your connections, especially in a place like Shanghai, because it's such an international city, and really reaps all the benefits of that, of like a London or a New York City, because essentially that's the equivalent over on the eastern part of the world. And also, this goes with saying, but expanding and adding this type of skill to your resume. Of course, having that, having an internship or experience in Shanghai is always going to look great. But what CRCC does, and what we do on the ground, and even after your program ends, is we're always there to help you. We teach you how to convey that experience. After you graduate school, enter the job market, this is absolutely something that will be discussed during a job interview. It's really something that's going to stand out on anybody's resume or CV. And it's definitely going to be standing out, but will it get you the job? I'm not entirely sure, but it's all about how you convey the experience. If you're able to really talk about why the experience was so beneficial for you, what you learned from out there. It doesn't even have to be an internship experience, but really anything like that. It's all about how you convey it. And we recognize that, and we're here to really teach you through the admissions staff before you go out there, to our program management staff on the ground. It's really an immersive experience where we really want you to really highlight what you've learned, and really acknowledge that this experience is something that is very, very rare. And as the world progresses, throughout the next decades, becoming more and more connected, it's really beneficial to get that international work experience. And this really it's really something of independence, right? It's going to be giving you that experience, and kind of more of a boost of confidence is something that we hear from so many alumni, where they're able to go out there and get out of their comfort zone. Is something I hear all the time in my job, is why people want to do that, why people want to go out and experience this sort of thing. It really is a challenging program, and it is something that, to be honest, not many people may be prepared for, but that's what we're there to do, is to help you along the way, and really give you an experience that you're going to come back with. Sure, it's going to help you in your professional life, but as a personal standpoint, it's going to be something that you can really be proud of achieving. And again, we're there to really help you out with that. So Shanghai, I know I touched on a few different, reasons why I personally love Shanghai and why it's a place to go. But, there's so many different places in China. It is the largest country in the world. But why Shanghai specifically is it's really really the alpha city of China. Of course, you can throw Beijing in there, Guangzhou as well. But Shanghai is really the global hub of a lot of the different sectors. It's really known as of course, the finance hub of China, of mainland China. And you could even make an argument that it is the finance hub of really that whole Asian region. Of course, you could throw Singapore and Hong Kong in there, but Shanghai really does stand up with those other cities in that general area of Asia. And not just really with finance, but it's really a global business hub across several different industries, whether it be finance, whether it be in things like sports marketing or really technology as a whole. There's a lot of really cool things going on from a professional standpoint. And I touched on this earlier, just from like a personal standpoint of living in Shanghai. It's such a international city. You meet people from really all over the place. I know I mentioned that a little bit earlier. We're really there to, help you through that. And Shanghai is really so unique in that way. There's a little bit of course, the modernism, the skyline that you're looking at right now. And that really kind of gives a good representation of China in the 21st century. But there's also aspects of Shanghai, like a water town that's maybe less than even an hour outside the city. That's kind of China's version of a Venice, but also the Yew Gardens, which has been around for several hundred years. It's really that mix, a very interesting mix between that modernism and that old ancient historical that's so interesting about China. And really the international influences are what's extremely interesting about China. I've mentioned a couple times how international the city is, but even if you look in its past, there's been British influence there, there's been French influence there, and when you visit Shanghai, you really get a taste of that, and really the mesh and the blend between Chinese culture and some of that international culture. That you get from the European influences and things like that. It's such a unique atmosphere, and people from really all over the world that have been brought there, or whether it be for professional or personal reasons. This is a great picture. I'll be kind of going in between these two slides. This is the Bund of Shanghai back in 1990. So just about 25 to 30 years ago. This is what that skyline looked like back in the 90s. As you can see, it's a lot different than what it is now. Just kind of go back, I'll give you a quick, this is what it was 30 years ago. And here it is in 2010. And it's really, this doesn't even paint a whole brush. This picture is still almost a decade old, and they've still been building and, building up that portion of their skyline. And back to what I was saying about how Shanghai is really the perfect representation of China in the 21st century. It really all started with a guy who I'm sure many of you have heard of. If not, that's perfectly okay. And that's Deng Xiaoping, when he really opened up China, economically speaking, really boosted that foreign trade and things like that. And really a lot of investment was put into that and really made Shanghai, really the modern Shanghai, what it is today. Again, mention this as it is a leader of finance. Actually, one of the buildings that you can see right behind, kind of the middle tall one right there with the big hole in the top of it, that is actually the finance center of Shanghai. So obviously home to a lot of different finance companies there. Really the connectivity. And that's not only public transportation speaking, but how it's connected to the world. So many international businesses have, if not their headquarters in Shanghai for Chinese businesses, but also so many international businesses, whether they be American businesses or, businesses from Europe. So many of them have at least an office or their China-based office in Shanghai. Really has that connectivity that maybe that of other second-tier cities in China do not have. China's cultural capital, of course, you can definitely say that Beijing is up there as well, but there's so many, especially throughout this 21st century, I'll say it for a third time now, that Shanghai is really that perfect representation of China in the 21st century. Really what they've been able to achieve economically speaking, obviously gaining that wealth and that prosperity there, but also kind of a mix between the future, the modern, and the past is just a perfect representation of Shanghai. So now to kind of shift gears a little bit, and really I'm going to focus in on the details of the internship program. I do see a message real quick. Quick question. Thank you very much for this. Shanghai looks so awesome. Are there any programs for this summer? Yes, there are. So actually, I'll get right to the end, and do feel free to check out our website, crccasia.com. We have several start dates throughout the summer. And actually, Shanghai, our Beijing and Shanghai programs, we run them just about every month of the year. There's at least one start date for every month. So I do recommend checking out our website when you get the chance. Click on the programs, and of course, click Shanghai, and all the different start dates should show up. If you are looking to go this summer, I do recommend submitting an application as soon as you can, and then to kind of begin that process of the placement, which again, I'll be covering right now, so perfect timing. So what's included in the program? I know I kind of touched on this at the beginning of, why do an internship through a provider like CRCC Asia, but to kind of start up at the upper left-hand corner, your internship is guaranteed. Now, we have several sectors, 14 in fact, that really we do our best to cover just about every field of study, and we do our best to facilitate an internship for. So during the application, we are going to ask you to choose a first choice sector, a second choice, and a third choice. And in one of those sectors, you are guaranteed an internship in. Of course, we really do our best to focus in on that first choice. So for example, if your first choice is in finance, second choice is in business, or third choice is in marketing, we really do our best to really focus in on finance. But there's really a lot of things that could happen. We might have to bump down to that second choice, but whatever it is, we do our best, and you are guaranteed that internship. Also included are the visa processing, so the fees and support. Sometimes the visa process for China can be a little bit daunting, but that's what a person like me is here to do and really help you out with all those things. Again, the fees are included in the cost of the tuition, and that's really for the consulate fee, which you have to pay anyways, as well as the visa agency that we work with, which really they do everything for us and for you. So we send you over very in-depth instructions on how to apply for it and make sure everything is squared away. And of course, I, as the admissions advisor for the China programs, are really there to kind of help you along the way. I've processed several hundred visas, so I've seen just about every situation. I'm pretty happy to help with everything. So that's kind of covers what's on the pre-departure side of things. Once you get on the ground, if you want to follow me to the bottom left-hand corner down there, airport pickup is included. If you do arrive on that start date, we do have a window of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Of course, that's something we'll remind you when upon the time that you book your flights to arrive on your start date between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. If you arrive a little bit earlier, that's fine. It's even easier. You can just kind of hang out at the airport and wait for us to arrive. If you do arrive a little bit later, we will be unable to pick you up, but we'll, of course, know that because you'll send your, I should say, flight itinerary over to us, and we can provide you with some instructions on getting a taxi, and also provide you with the accommodation address in Chinese characters, and you can just give that to the taxi driver, and it's really that easy in that cases. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, and I'm happy to help out with that. And then the induction day, which actually is the day after you arrive. It's essentially like an orientation of sorts. We kind of ease you into living in a place like China for an extended period of time, kind of go over the program and how everything's going to be set up a little bit further, and really kind of introduce you to Chinese business culture as well. Then there's also various throughout the program, maybe once, twice, potentially 3 times a week. There's various social and cultural events. In Shanghai, this can consist of anything like dumpling making to learning Tai Chi, or maybe karaoke get-togethers and parties like that. None of these are mandatory by any means, but of course we do encourage them. They are included, and again, it's really kind of bridging that gap. Almost giving you kind of a break from the internship portion, and experiencing the fun side of Chinese culture and things like that. We also include business seminars, which are usually once a month, and those really focus in on various industries. So say if your program is 2 months long in Shanghai, so for like that first month, maybe the business seminar will be geared towards like the technology industry in Shanghai specifically. So we'll bring in some CEOs, business leaders, maybe some directors across several different organizations. We'll bring them in, they'll give you guys kind of a lecture about who they are, what they do, like the business climate in China. And then we really open up. They really like meeting you guys. And that's just another opportunity to really establish some connections. And I know, to kind of back what I was saying before, and my favorite part of China specifically is the people that you meet. And we want you to establish and really expand your network to a place like China. Then lastly, to kind of wrap up this slide, we also offer 24-hour support and guidance on the ground. So if you have any questions, we're literally just a message away. And say, that also includes emergency support. So, if you need to go to the hospital or something like that, at midnight, in the middle of the night, we'll be there to pick you up, take you, and make sure all is squared away there. I kind of touched on this, but again, with the airport pickup, we usually have that 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. window. We'll, of course, be waiting. We'll literally be tracking your flight, so we'll be aware of any delays or things like that, and we'll, of course, adapt. But again, we'll be there. In this case, this is actually taken from the Beijing airport, and we'll be meeting right outside of the baggage claim. In this case, of course, at Starbucks. In Shanghai, it's a little bit different, but we do provide you with those exact instructions before, and again, make sure that you are all squared away. For the accommodation, this is a question, of course, that so many people get a lot. The accommodation, you are guaranteed a fully furnished and serviced accommodation. So you have your own private room, your own private area, and then you're going to share like a kitchen and a living room area with 1, maybe 2 interns that are on the same program as you. Essentially, we do our best to have all the interns in a single accommodation. Sometimes, especially during the summer months where we receive so many interns at the same time, we do have to move over and kind of split everybody into 2 different buildings. Regardless, they should be pretty close to each other, and you'll still have that community of sorts when you're on the ground. Induction day, just to kind of repeat, this is the day after you arrive, usually that Friday after you arrive. All the start dates are on a Thursday, so the induction day would be on that Friday. And basically, again, this is just easing you into a place like Shanghai. If you've been to China before, outstanding. The vast majority of the participants, although, have not. So we're aware of that. And it's very friendly. Again, it's more of a casual. Again, it's nothing too serious, but we do touch upon the various biggest culture differences that you're going to notice, just so you're not too wide-eyed if you see something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. We provide you with a SIM card for your phone, as well as a Metro card for public transportation. It's really the same card actually that you use for the subway that you do for the bus. We also literally go person by person to kind of touch upon your commutes in the morning, which again, I'll touch on in just a second, but we give you also a tour of the subway station. So walking you from your accommodation to the nearest subway stop. What's so unique about China is that the public transportation I do have to admit, is much far advanced than that of what we have in most cities here in the US. The subway system is almost futuristic in that way. It's extremely efficient, always on time, very clean, which is something we get a lot. There's even air conditioning in the subway tunnels, which a lot of people, you don't really get in a place like New York or in Philadelphia or Chicago, wherever it might be. So super easy. There's English signs everywhere as well. But again, we do provide support on that. Also during this day, we touch upon really how you can prepare for your internship. There's going to be a lot of cultural gaps between that of like a Western business, which if you've done an internship before or visited your parents' offices or whatever it might be, you're going to notice a gap from that of the Chinese offices. So we do our best to kind of, what you can prepare for, how you can really adapt into that culture, and so get to know your coworkers some more, develop those relationships with your supervisor, and kind of making sure all is well there. And then on the first day, so the first day of the internship is actually the following Monday. So you have that initial weekend to yourself. On that first Saturday though, we will provide you with like a tour of Shanghai, where, we'll take you around the city a little bit. You might be a little bit jet lagged, but that usually helps out with it, as well as you'll have your first Mandarin lessons on that day. Sunday is completely to yourself. Do as you please. If you still a little bit jet lag, definitely sleep in, or you can explore the city, really do whatever you want to do. But that following Monday, we hope you're all prepared to begin your internship. So on that first day, usually around 8:30 or maybe 9 a.m. in the morning, we will all meet you in the lobby of your accommodation, and we'll have buses all ready for you, and we will literally drive you to your company, introduce you to your supervisor, make sure you get acclimated, make sure you get comfortable, and then going forward, you will be commuting to and from work each day on your own. But as I mentioned, during that induction day, we literally go person by person, making sure, giving you the best route to take to work, whether it be on the subway or the bus. Again, Shanghai is a very large city, so something I get a lot too is how long are the commutes? We do our best to limit the commutes as much as possible. Of course, we don't want you commuting like 2 hours a day. That's a bit ridiculous, but maybe something along the line, I think of maybe a expectation you can have is somewhere between like 45 minutes and an hour, maybe a little bit longer. But again, Shanghai is the largest city in the world, or definitely right up there. And that's one thing about the public transportation as well, as how easy it is. And there's a lot of different options you can take, and we're happy to discuss all that with you as well. Community outreach, this is usually once, maybe twice a month as well. This could be anything like going to a hospital, doing some hospital visits, or maybe visiting some orphanages. This is just a cool way to kind of get intertwined with the community, maybe see something, maybe see a kind of less developed side of the super tech part of Shanghai, maybe again visiting some orphanages, really just getting involved in the community. They're usually a lot of fun. We always get great feedback on these events, and again, just just a way to experience a different side of China. Again, this is almost just kind of touch on the support a little bit more. We have a full program management team in Shanghai, again, to kind of be there, and kind of ease you in. We organize, as I mentioned, kind of the China Business Seminar, but there's also other networking events that are constantly in Shanghai. Just to bring this up again, my favorite part is the networking aspect. So we work, very closely with the various chambers of commerce who regularly host these events, and promote those networking events for you to kind of go out and get intertwined and establish that network. Also 24-hour emergency support, with the hospital or whatever it might be, and also drop-in sessions, kind of like office hours, will be maybe in the lobby of your accommodation on like a Monday evening from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. if you want to come by. In no means mandatory, but if you want to discuss the internship, have questions about China, whatever it might be, we'll have a program manager, discuss that date with you at time for you to come in. And it's not limited to that, as I mentioned, more of like an office hours type thing. So the application process, again, kind of in regards to the question we had a little bit earlier, to kind of get things started, you can just go on our website and you should see a big red apply button. So you can click that. The application is very easy and really only takes maybe a minute to complete. We just want to know about, your sector choices, your contact information. You can upload a resume if you'd like to, although it is not mandatory at this time. After you submit the application, really immediately, we do ask you to schedule an advising session phone call. And that's with, if you are going to Shanghai, that would be with myself. Again, if you're based in the US or Canada, or really anywhere in this hemisphere, that will be through me. So it'll forward you directly to my calendar, and you can just pick and choose a date and a time, really whenever is best for you. I'll receive that notification. It'll be in my schedule, and I'll give you a call at that time. Through that call, it really only takes 20 minutes, maybe a half hour. We don't want to, take too much of your time, or even up to an hour. Really is not depending on you. We just want to learn about you, really what your goals are and your motivations for doing this program. And then ultimately, of course, discussing what type of internship you're really looking to have and digging a little bit deeper into those specifics. After that advising session, we would get back to you most likely the next day, usually 1 or 2 days, with your admissions decision. Now, if you are accepted, that means we were very impressed with you during the phone call. We'd love to have you on the program. And in doing that, we do ask for you to commit to the program, of course, and ultimately moving on to beginning the placement process and, basically preparing for your pending arrival in Shanghai. This is just an overview of the various sectors. Again, there's 14 here, as I mentioned, really includes just about every field of study. And again, a lot of these are quite broad, but again, that's the reason for the advising session, is to dig a little bit deeper into the specifics, really hear it from you, talk about your experience, really why you're doing this program. So of course, we can do our best to get you that perfect internship, one that you'll really enjoy, you'll find interesting, and hopefully get the most out of. So this is just the top 3 most popular sectors we have in Shanghai. In no way are these just limited to these 3 sectors. These are just things, that we receive quite often. Media and creative industries. This could be anything like working in like a TV, film, or media company. Also graphic design kind of falls in there as well. Finance, we've discussed this quite a bit, how Shanghai is really that finance hub. You can work for, as you can see here, like a wealth management agency, or maybe private equity firms, investment banking. There's a lot of different kind of subsectors that we can look into and really hear from you, really what you're interested in, maybe a little bit about your background, discuss, where you can be pragmatic about placements, and really judging that expectations as much as possible. And then marketing, advertising, PR. This is probably our most common sector. We have a lot of companies requesting interns for these specific skill sets. This could be a lot of different things, maybe market research, helping a company with an advertising campaign or a PR, whatever it might be, maybe assisting in social media marketing, whatever it might be. Again, there's a lot that kind of falls under that, and a lot of different industries as well, whether it be in like sports marketing, maybe marketing for like a technology company, fashion company. There are a lot of different directions we could go there, and we want to hear it from you, what type of industry you really have an interest for and want to learn a little bit more about. This is just a few, placements that we've had in the past from 2 Michigan State students. Ali, of course, was a finance intern, and he interned for Fuzi Capital, which is a private equity fund. Kier, the wonderful intern from Michigan State as well, interned at Knudsen & Co., which is essentially kind of a consulting company primarily for the pharmaceutical sector. So again, if you any of those healthcare pharmaceutical students or interested people out there, this is a great kind of a mix between business, maybe a little bit of finance, and that general overview of the pharmaceutical sector. So again, just a few of the kind of alumni that we've had in the past. So the payment process, again, this kind of falls into, how do I commit? I want to go through this. So If you would like to commit to the program, you've done the advising call, want to move forward with everything, we do ask you to submit an acceptance fee of $500. And that essentially will confirm your place in the program, really secure your spot, and it will ultimately guarantee you that internship. It really just comes right off the top of the total tuition. And again, that really just locks your place and really kind of notifies our team on the ground in Shanghai to really prepare for your impending arrival. That is due 1 week after you receive the admission or you receive that offer letter. If you do need an extension for that, please reach out to your admissions advisor, which would most likely be myself. Let us know. We can work with you. And again, we might recommend that you submit it if it is something you'd like to do, but we are able to work with you and be a little bit flexible. Once you submit that fee, you have 1 month to pay that first installment. And that is essentially 50% or 1/2 of the remaining balance of your tuition, for the program. So once that first installment is paid, we will immediately begin the placement process. So we'll begin sending your profile out to various companies in Shanghai, and really kind of trying to schedule an interview for you, and beginning that process. Once you are confirmed with a company, you've interviewed, you've accepted it, they've accepted you, and everyone's happy, we ask you to pay that final installment, which is again that last 50%. That pretty much covers it on my